Mbote.
Mbote. Good afternoon, salam. Bonjour. Welcome to Brazzaville. That will be the capital of Africa for this event. My name is Denise Pute, and I have the great honor to be your master of ceremony. Excellencies, Mr. Denis Sassou Nguesso, President of the Republic of Congo, Your Excellency, Mr. Briskote Olingi-Gema, President of the Republic of Gabon, Excellencies, Mr. Joma Jiki-Agoko, President of the Republic of Botswana, represented by His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Botswana, Excellency, Sir Dankinime, President of Burundi, represented by the Vice President of Burundi, Excellency Mr. Paul Kagame, President of the Republic of Rwanda, represented by Dr. Justin Zeimana, Prime Minister of Rwanda, Madame Hassan, President of the Republic of Tanzania, represented by Mr. Shamba, Your Excellency, Mr. Paul Biya, President of the Republic of Gabon, represented by Mr. Ami Ousmane, Minister of Economy, Planning and Land Development of Cameroon, Your Excellency, Mr. Alassane Ouattara, President of the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire, and represented by the Minister of Planning of Cote d'Ivoire, and Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Liberia, represented by the Minister, Mr. President of the Republic of Mauritania, represented by Mr. Hassan Sheikh Sidwa, Minister of Economic Affairs and Development of the Republic of Mauritania, Your Excellency, Mr. Akange Eshirima, represented by the President of Zambia, represented by the Minister of National Planning, the President, His Excellency, the Chairperson of the African Commission, represented, and Mr. Youssoufou, former President of the Republic of Niger, Mr. Old Sidita, President of the African Development Bank, ladies and gentlemen, members of Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, it's with great pride and sense of responsibility that we're here to commemorate the Africa Day on the around the Congo River. This is the anniversary of the establishment of the African Union in Addis Ababa. And Africa, after being liberated, declared that its development could be built in unity. Founding fathers wanted to establish a day that is commemorated each day to assess progress and symbolize the determination of African countries who take their destiny into their own hands, and an ideal that 60 years later is still topical. The African Union works tirelessly to develop a continent of 1.4 billion inhabitants in full growth and change. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with this inheritance and by looking to the future that we're commemorating this day, and the theme is assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve Agenda 2063. The celebration of this day before the annual meetings of the bank is not by accident. It emphasizes the strategic partnership between two institutions whose mission for development and prosperity for Africa are the same. Let this 25th of May 2026 be a call for us to be united, be in solidarity, and act in favor of Africa. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to stand up for the hymn of the African Union, followed by that of Congo. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Tout au long de
All along this event, Derek Merrick, the Congolese artist, is going to create an interactive work that you can see on my right-hand side called Words for Africa, based on your contributions on the line. And Derek Mack used coffee and charcoal to celebrate the inheritance of his ancestors. Now we give the floor to the chairperson of the African Union, represented by the Vice President of the African Union, Mrs. Salmi.
Excellent.
Your Excellencies, Excellency Mr. Denis Sassou Nguesso, President of the Republic of Congo, Your Excellency Mr. Brice Clotaire Olingue Nguema, President of the Republic of Gabon, Your Excellency Mr. Prosper Bazambanza, Vice President of the Republic of Burundi, and whose country is the chairperson of the African Union, Mr. Ndaba, Your Excellency Kotinati Ngodate, Vice President of the Republic of Botswana, Your Excellency Dr. Justine Mtengi Rumba, Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellency Mr. Mamadou Yusufu, former President of the Republic of Niger and African Union champion for the Free Trade Area in Africa, Mr. President of the AfDB, Honorable Ministers, members of the Government of Congo, Excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps accredited in the Republic of Congo, as well as international and regional institutions. All protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. Brazzaville is one of these places Africa remembers, marked by the fight for the economic and political liberation of the continent. That's why this celebration is a flagship. By hosting the 63rd Africa Day, the Africa or Congo, it reminds us that Pan-Africanism is not only historic, but something alive, and with its population and leaders who refuse the fragmentation and want the populations to move towards a better future. In important times of our history, Congo has always been attached to peace, fraternity between peoples, and the preservation of Africa under the enlightened leadership of Mr. Sassou Nguesso, President of the Congo, this has gone on and is not unnoticed in Africa through peace efforts, mediation, and reconciliation between African countries. You play a vital role in the Commission on Libya, and given the deep changes our continent has experienced in past decades, your role, Mr. President, in our African Union has shown that it is important for you to be around for continuity. You have inherited a long tradition of Pan-Africanism, and you have continued to consult various countries, and in spite of all the difficulties, and thus your commitment plays an important role in the modern history of our continent. Your wisdom, your continued commitment continue today to enrich the collective action of Africa and also inspire the youth. And we do hope that this will be the case for many more years to come. And this, it is necessary to have continuity, and this can be found in the financing and development tools that our continent has developed over centuries. The celebration of the Africa Day at a time when the African Development Bank is holding its annual meetings in Brazzaville gave us the opportunity to congratulate this Pan-African institution. For decades, the African Development Bank has shown that an Africa that invests in itself will strengthen its economic sovereignty and its ability to control its own development. It is a collective action, and heads of state, African heads of state have put it at the core of African development. And our brother, Dr. Sidi Ota, President of the African Development, does the same thing, and I would like to congratulate him. With the support of Africa, he'll undoubtedly ensure that the bank reaches new heights. The theme of this year is about water and sanitation, and there's a convergence between political vision and action. Having access to water is not only a technical matter, but it's a matter of health, human dignity, public health, justice, and development. The African development brings much more than financial support, and that contributes to the sovereignty of Africa. And there is faith, trust in the abilities of the continent, and the chairperson of the African Union I'm representing here, and who would have loved to be here in Brazzaville. Unfortunately, his agenda did not allow him to be here for this important event. Has asked me to tell you how sorry he is not to be here, and he would like also to congratulate you on this day. But today, Africa is commemorating the 63rd anniversary of the African Union. This is an important date that has to do with our collective quest for dignity and development. 63 years of unity, integration, and development. This is a theme we're celebrating, and we are reaffirming that we're committed to Agenda 2023. And the construction of Africa we want. And we're celebrating our common inheritance, and we want our continent to take more part in the management of the world. Africa continues to bear values of solidarity, collaboration, and shared humanity in a world with growing uncertainties. Last year, the Voice of Africa has continued to be heard louder on the international scene. Our presence in G20 is a historic opportunity. Thus, Africa can participate in global economy, as well as health, sustainable development, etc. The African Union continues reforms in order to build a stronger, more efficient organization and closer to the aspirations of African populations. The 2026 theme, assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve Agenda 2023 shows that all this is very important for the future of our continent. Africa remains united when calling for a fairer multilateral system with the reform of the Security Council in order to remedy this unfairness towards our continent. This momentum, this international momentum for a historic acknowledgement, and particularly Ghana has opened up a discussion on colonialism, etc. And this year is also a source of pride for our continent, with 9 actually teams will be participating in FIFA, this is a first. This shows the growing ambition and presence of African youth globally. We wish them full success so that they can represent Africa with flying colors, and why not bring back the World Cup to Africa. During this Africa Day, I invite African diplomats and representatives in the world to work with African groups in various capitals in order to strengthen Africa's collective voice and strengthen our common priorities. I would like to thank all the AU partners for their solidarity as regards peace, integration, development, and the institutional transformation of our continent. And we put our trust in the strength of Africa unity, promotion of Pan-Africanism, and the high potential of our countries. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Avant d'accueillir à cette tribune le docteur Sidi Oulta.
Before welcoming Dr. Sidi Oulta, the President of the African Development Bank, I would like you to look at the issue of water and sanitation.
Remplir une seule bouteille d'eau Anza, on passait des heures à attendre. Il fallait attendre l'eau de pluie, remplir les bidons, les aligner. Il y avait tout un tas de bidons ici que je remplissais avec des fûts.
Isso diminui o ciclo de doença aquela doença que tinha sempre no passado, agora já não está como antes, como por exemplo a cólera. Diminuiu muito, o problema da infecção diminuiu muito. Então agradeço por isso. Até o momento o que eu tenho a dizer é agradecer, né, primeiramente a Deus e por ter nos dado aquela força de termos um chafariz aqui no nosso bairro.
If it's raining heavily, you find it difficult to go and ease yourself at the public toilets. By this time, when you pass through the back of your building, just open it to enter. So we are happy, both the families and the tenants.
Pour rendre les gens heureux, rien de tel que l'eau. L'eau et l'assainissement sont des besoins basiques. Cela demande d'importantes infrastructures, l'expertise pour les installer et les maintenir, ainsi qu'un partenariat de confiance entre les acteurs de terrain. Il faut de l'eau de pluie, mais pas trop.
We help our clients mainly to respond to 3 areas. That is water supply, renewable energy, and agriculture. Those are mostly our water sources. With the changing climate, we don't have enough surface water.
Si l'accès à l'eau améliore la santé de tous, l'assainissement est aussi un puissant levier d'une transformation économique et sociale. Les maladies liées à l'eau reculent, allégeant les systèmes de santé et diminuant la perte de productivité. Libérées de la corvée d'eau quotidienne, les femmes peuvent s'éduquer et saisir de nouvelles opportunités. Des approches visionnaires peuvent révolutionner l'accès à l'eau en Afrique dans ces régions les plus reculées et arides, transformant l'air ambiant en une ressource vitale.
We condense the water vapor in the atmosphere. It's converted into liquid water. Then we pass it through filtration system and demineralization system just to add minerals into that water.
Apporter de l'eau aux grands centres urbains nécessite de lourds investissements, une excellente coopération régionale et de solides partenariats publics-privés. Tous ces mécanismes peuvent changer radicalement la vie de millions de personnes.
Depuis la fin des années 70, la Banque africaine de développement a apporté sa contribution à son partenaire historique, l'Office national de l'électricité et de l'eau potable, dans ses efforts d'amélioration des systèmes de l'eau dans près d'une trentaine de villes marocaines, desservant ainsi 15 millions d'habitants à travers 15 projets structurants ayant mobilisé près de 1,2 milliard d'euros. L'urgence aujourd'hui, c'est d'être là où nous sommes attendus. L'urgence aujourd'hui, c'est d'être là où l'eau commence à manquer. L'eau est une ressource rare, il faut la préserver.
Aujourd'hui, célébrons notre unité et consolidons notre détermination commune à construire une Afrique plus prospère. Ensemble, faisons la promesse que l'eau atteigne chaque Africain. Nous vous souhaitons à tous une bonne journée de l'Afrique.
J'invite à présent le président de la Banque africaine de développement, le docteur.
I'd like to welcome Dr. Sidi Oulta.
Excellence, Monsieur Denis.
Your Excellency Denis Sassou Nguesso, President of the Republic of Congo. Your Excellency Mr. Brice Clotaire Olingi Nguema, President of the Republic of Gabon. Your Excellency Vice President and Head of First Minister and Prime Minister and representative of your government. Your Excellency Madam Selma Haddad, Vice Chair of the African Commission. Your Excellencies, dear governors of the African Development Bank, and ladies and gentlemen, partners of development, Your Excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps in Brazzaville, accredited in Brazzaville, the administrators of the African Development Group, ladies and gentlemen representing the management of the bank, dear members of the civil society, special guests, ladies and gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. 63 years ago, on the 25th of May, 1963, African leaders met in Addis Ababa to create the Organization of African Unity, and the continent by then was a different place, and there were lots of debates. And the idea of integration of the continent and the form that the African unity should take was hotly debated. And the part of Africa that hosted that meeting wanted for the first time to meet on African soil and decide for themselves the future of the continent. And this moment was a major milestone for the future of Africa that in the past was molded by others so that they could act in their own name. A large number of countries in Africa had just obtained their independence, and the infrastructure was extremely limited. Very few children could complete their secondary studies. Our economies depended on on goods that were whose prices were fixed overseas, and the fathers who founded the independent Africa had something special: confidence to be able to govern by themselves, confidence for Africa to build its own institutions, confidence that political independence would lead to economic freedom. The Organization of the African Unity was a declaration of emancipation and affirmation that Africa was not just as something to be talked about in terms of history. And it is in that context that the African Development Bank was created. Please allow me to express our deep thanks to His Excellency Denis Sassou Nguesso, who today hosts the annual meetings of the African Development Bank, and who, through his leadership, has always worked for peace and security in Africa. I would like to express to him our great appreciation and respect. We also thank his government, who did everything they could to create the ideal conditions for us to hold our annual meetings here. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in response to the creation of the Organization of African Unity, a lot of people thought that Africa was too fragmented to build continental institutions that would be strong enough. But the African leaders have chosen other paths than just independence. And they wanted the independence to be incarnated in African institutions. And 63 years later, celebrating the Africa Day here is a special occasion, an Africa dialogue of peace, of solidarity, and resistance. an Africa that manages its borders and shares a community of destiny. In this year, as we are working on our priorities, she's becoming even stronger and fashioning its own future. The Congo River is one of the largest waterways in Africa. The Niger, the Zambezi have also allowed for development. Water is in Africa, and it crosses our borders and developed our people before our state existed, and it reminds us that it is part of our future. However, in the 21st century, hundreds of our citizens do not have access to water. This contradiction should draw our attention, because water is not just a matter of technique, it's a matter of dignity, a question of public health, and the empowerment of women, of food security, a question of resilience, and a question of stability and peace. No continent can be transformed if millions of young men and women cannot have access to water. No economy can prosper if the climate conditions are weakening its foundations. No industries can succeed without water and energy. But Africa's history is not a history of deficit. Too often, Africa is described in terms of what it doesn't have: water, energy, financing, climate. But if we want only to focus on what Africa doesn't have, it means we are not paying attention to what it does have. It's true that Africa has been working since 1963 and has made progress in political freedom. Africa has new actions in the economy, greater integration. And that is the reason for Africa Day, an Africa Day that demonstrates our capacity in spite of the crisis in the world. Because Africa is the continent that has learned the value of solidarity the most. We have the conviction that no African country can succeed alone. And this conviction is anchored in a world that is fragmented and has a problem of identity. Africa has to defend a vision of bringing everyone together. The new African financing architecture will help in this quest of the continent.
The generation of 1963 gave us political agency. Our responsibility now is to strengthen Africa's collective agency through deeper integration, stronger institutions, and renewed confidence in our ability to build our future together. Because history teaches us one essential lesson: great transformation always begins with a shared ambition. I thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Nous allons découvrir une performance
We will have a traditional ballet dance, Thotsa, and you will have percussion and flutes.
C'était une performance signée par le ballet Sotsa.
A performance by Sotsa Ballet. I'd like to invite you to listen to the video address by His Excellency Evariste Ndayishimiye, President of the Republic of Burundi and Chairperson of the African Union.
Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs,
Your Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission, distinguished commissioners, heads of the African Union organs, African Union Commission staff, dear people of Africa and those of African descent, dear friends of the African continent. On the 25th of May 1963, the founding fathers of our continent chose unity over division, solidarity over retreat, and a shared future over narrow interests. Their vision gave rise to the Organization of African Unity, which has now become the African Union, a living symbol of our collective ambition. 63 years later, we can see how far we have come. Despite challenges, Africa continues to move forward. Our continent is gradually consolidating its position on the international scene with greater confidence and responsibility. Africa's accession to the G20 is a historic recognition of the continent's growing importance in global governance. It also reflects the legitimacy of Africa's aspirations for a more inclusive and international governance through a reform of the United Nations Security Council in particular, to correct historical injustices that have been meted on our continent and guaranteeing Africa a fair, permanent representation that reflects its demographic, political, and strategic importance. This progress is not an end in itself. It must enable us to give greater voice to the aspirations of our people, to defend our development priorities, and to demand a fairer and more representative world order. It must also strengthen our advocacy for a reform of the international financial system so that African economies can access fairer, accessible financing that is tailored to the realities of our development. Africa is not asking for charity. Africa is asking for equity, justice, and a legitimate position in the decision-making mechanisms that shape the future of the world. The figure 63 also resonates with our Agenda 2063, a strategic vision of a prosperous, integrated, and peaceful Africa driven by its own citizens. Agenda 2063 is not a simple roadmap. It is the living promise of an Africa that has chosen the image that it wishes to project to the children of tomorrow. But this celebration must also be a moment of collective conscience. While we commemorate our achievements, millions of Africans continue to suffer. They're victims of armed conflicts, terrorism, violent extremism, climate-related disasters, and humanitarian crises. In many parts of our continent, families are living in refugee camps or camps for internally displaced persons, and they're often deprived of their bare necessities. And among them are children who should be in school, children whose dreams should never be cut short by war, hunger, or being in exile. Today, we need to send them a message of hope, and above all, we need to take concrete actions. As I often say, an African child who is denied education today is a part of Africa's future that we are abandoning tomorrow. Even in refugee and IDP camps, education must remain a priority as humanitarian aid is. Yes, we need to feed the hungry, protect the vulnerable, and assist affected communities. However, we must also invest in our children's education wherever they are, because no nation can build a solid future on a generation that is deprived of knowledge. My thoughts also go out to member states that are facing difficult transitions, as well as those who daily face the threat of terrorism. No country should have to go through this alone. It undermines our institutions, it brings sadness to our people, and undermines the future of our continent. I call for greater African solidarity, because what is ravaging some of our nations today could tomorrow affect our shared space, our shared region. Terrorism makes no distinction between peoples, cultures, or borders. It strikes indiscriminately and demands a united, coherent, and sustainable response from all of us. To all the families affected by these tragedies, I extend my deepest sympathy. Every African's life lost is a wound borne by the whole of Africa. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, African integration remains our greatest strength. This is why we must accelerate the effective implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The success of this historic initiative will help us boost intra-African trade, create opportunities for our young people, accelerate the industrialization of our economies, and consolidate our economic sovereignty. However, our collective success will depend above all on our capacity to preserve our unity. I appeal today to all African leaders. Let us continue to demonstrate greater solidarity and unity in the decisions that shape the future of our continent. Africa grows stronger when its nations speak with one voice. It is our historical responsibility to always put the interests of the continent and the welfare of our people first. I would also like to pay a special tribute to the chairperson of the African Union Commission, the vice chairperson, commissioners, and heads of the AU organs, as well as all the officials and staff of our organization. Thanks to your daily commitment that is often quiet yet essential, the Pan-African ideal continues to grow. You embody the institutional continuity of our union, and every day you help to bring Africa closer to its aspirations of peace, integration, and prosperity. To all African peoples and those of African descent, I would like to say this: Africa needs all its sons and daughters. Wherever you are in the world, you remain an essential part of our collective destiny. To all Africa's friends, we express our gratitude for your partnership, solidarity, and confidence in the future of our continent. On this Africa Day, let us together renew our commitment to the ideals of Pan-Africanism, to peace, unity, and sustainable development of our continent. May the 63 years already behind us inspire us to continue with even greater determination on the journey towards Agenda 2063, a united, strong, prosperous, peaceful Africa that is respected throughout the world. Long live to a united Africa, long live to the African Union, and may we enjoy the Africa Day celebrations. Thank you.
Unissons-nous et célébrons tous ensemble les victoires de notre libération. Engageons-nous et levons-nous tous comme un seul homme pour défendre notre liberté.
Nous savons gré au Congo d'avoir donné au continent
We are grateful to Congo for having contributed authors of great talent to the literary world. I would like to invite Ms. Mariuska, accompanied by the brilliant Maître Mulek.
En une symphonie d'industrie, de science, d'innovation et d'espérance. Mobiliser des ressources à grande échelle, c'est convoquer la solidarité des peuples, comme on rassemble les rivières pour donner naissance à un fleuve invisible. C'est croire aux graines africaines et les arroser pour que nos efforts ne soient vains. Des investisseurs capables de voir dans la jeunesse africaine une constellation en devenir. Que les murs des visas se brisent afin que la vision panafricaine se hisse. Une diaspora transformant la nostalgie en pont d'or et de savoir. Une foi collective qui qui fait reculer les impossibles. L'Afrique devient le poème vivant de la résilience humaine. L'Afrique devient le poème vivant de la résilience humaine. Elle possède des terres qui nourrissent des saisons, des minerais qui alimentent les technologies du futur, des océans qui portent des chemins d'avenir et surtout une jeunesse immense. Oh, ce soleil encore pleine ascension du sommet du Kilimandjaro. Je veux apercevoir la célébration du génie africain sur le fleuve Congo, du haut des pyramides d'Égypte et du Soudan, voir fleurir les entreprises africaines. Sur la berge de la baie de Luango, je sens la vanille malgache peupler le monde. Ici, au Congo, chacun avec sa houe, chacun dans son champ de compétences, plantons les racines de l'Afrique que nous voulons. L'Afrique qui se relève, l'Afrique qui se révèle. Pour elle, ses filles et le reste de l'humanité. Et qu'au milieu des fractures planétaires, l'Afrique écrive avec l'encre de ses peuples et la force de ses rêves la plus lumineuse renaissance du siècle.
Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs,
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we now wish to invite His Excellency Denis Sassou Nguesso, President of the Republic of Congo. A round of applause, please.
Monsieur le Président,
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Gabon, dear brother, ladies and gentlemen, representatives of heads of state, dear President of the Senate, dear President of the Parliament, dear Prime Minister, head of the government, Mrs. Vice President of the African Union Commission, dear President Youssoufou, former President of Niger, dear brother, dear President of the African Development Group, dear governors of the African Development Bank, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you very sincerely to the government who, in spite of their busy schedule, have managed to be here for this ceremony dedicated to the celebration of Africa Day on this 25th of May 2026. And I would like to express my gratitude to the delegations and the personalities here present. I wish everyone a fraternal welcome and good stay in the Republic of Congo. It is with honor and reverence that I take the floor this day on the occasion of the celebration of Africa Day, this 25th of May 2026. This date that is full of history, marking the 63rd anniversary of the creation of the Organization of African Unity, which has become the African Union on the 9th of July in Durban, in South Africa. This major event coincided with the start this morning here in Brazzaville of the 61st annual meetings of the African Development Bank, coupled with the 52nd Assembly of the African Development Fund. We are celebrating today the ideas of unity and solidarity, sovereignty and integrity, social justice and development that the African Union celebrated, which come together with the values of excellence, of team building, of professionalism and transparency incarnated by the African Development Bank. The Africa Day, which is celebrated on the 25th of May of every year, celebrates the end of the fights that were carried out by the fathers of African independence, who, at the cost of their own blood and their lives, the gift of their own for Africa, which is engraved on the marble of the African history. So we can say with pride and acknowledgement that this is their day today. The celebration of Africa Day, sublime, the immortality of their sacrifice and their lives. Great men never die. At the peak of glory, they will always remain eternal. In saying this, with great emotion, I think of Eduardo Motla, the father of independent Mozambique, who was assassinated in 1969. Amilcar Cabral, Pan-African political leader who was assassinated on the 20th of January 1973 in Conakry. Samora Moses Machem, first president of the Popular Republic of Mozambique, who died on the 19th of October 1986 in Buzini in South Africa in a very obscure accident, a plane accident. Emery Patrice Lumumba, Prime Minister from June to September 1960. Great figure of the independence of the DRC, assassinated on the 17th of January 1961. Onja Ayenda, a key figure of the popular liberation movement of Angola, martyr who lost his blood. Steve Biko, black militant of South Africa, one of the main artisans of the fight against apartheid, assassinated whilst in detention by the police. Marian Ngwabi, from 1969 to 1977, president of the Popular Republic of Congo, my country, who was assassinated in 1977 by his supporter for his liberation fight. He impressed indelible trace on the way to liberty, justice, and prosperity. Thanks to the commitment, the remarkable commitment of her sons, Africa, even though she was mistreated by slavery over many years, and colonization, has been able to wake up finally and faced with courage to the rest of the world and other challenges. And for this, I would like to say, give an homage to all these freedom fighters of Africa. Kenneth Kanga from Zambia, the father of the independence of that country and former president of that country. Kwame Nkrumah, first president of Ghana, Pan-Africanist, who wanted the total independence for the continent and the creation of the United Nations of Africa. Ahmed Sékou Touré, one of the leaders of the RDA party, who rejected with a huge no the Franco-African community that was proposed by General Charles de Gaulle during the referendum of 1958. Léopold Sédar Senghor, first president of Senegal in 1960, major actor of decolonization in Francophone Africa, Félix Houphouët-Boigny, former president of Côte d'Ivoire, a pioneer for the fight for liberation, autonomy, and the independence of Africa, Modibo Keïta, first vice president of the National French Parliament, who proclaimed independence for the former Sudan, French Sudan, which became the Republic of Mali afterwards. Julius Nyerere, former president of Tanzania, who was propagating an African socialism and wanted African national union. Jomo Kenyatta, former militant, independent militant, and former president of Kenya. Barthélemy Bokanda, main defender of African independence, who was guided by the will to guide the United States of Central Africa. leader and first president of the Central African Republic from 1958 to 1959, who died on the 29th of March, 1959, in a plane crash, which has always remained enigmatic. Gamal Abdel Nasser, Egyptian nationalist, who was committed in the fight against the British oppressor, big name in the Egyptian revolution and the resistance of the Third World, a main figure of the non-aligned states. The king, Mohammed V of Morocco, who was opposed to the domination of the the Moroccan independent movement, Istiqlal, the father of modern Morocco, and the support of liberation fights in Africa, Ahmed Ben Bella, fighter for independence in Algeria, leader of the FLN and former president of Algeria, the Democratic and Popular Republic of Algeria, the former president of Angola, and president of the Popular Movement for the Liberation of Angola, Nelson Mandela, former leader of the ANC, former president of the South African Republic, after 27 years of imprisonment for his commitment against the apartheid regime put in place by the white minority in his country. Kamuzu Banda, first president of Malawi, initiator of a referendum on a multi-party system and a defender of women's rights. Obviously, we can only cite those, and we cannot be exhaustive. And please allow me to recall the sons of Africa who fell on the way to liberating Africa. Let's say that the fight for the freedom of Africa that was defended by courageous women holding the message of liberty, justice, fraternity, and prosperity throughout the world. Just like Chimpavita, who came from the Congo Kingdom and was committed in the fight against colonization. Winnie Mandela, who fought against apartheid. Miriam Makeba, artist, South African artist, whose music was calling for beyond the oceans, the liberation of African peoples. There is no great effect without a great cause, or extraordinary deeds without exceptional people. And this can only create giants who fight in situations that are at the measure of their sacrifice for the continent, sacrificed for Africa. you had to have a great heart. And this is what you call a destiny. It is Lin L'Ancien, a writer, a Roman naturalist of the 1st century, who was wondering what new things come from Africa, simply because at the time it was said that in Africa the beasts used to make love, including between different races, and gave birth to monsters. And lots of people thought that Africa was the place for strange and monstrous things. Lin L'Ancien, who lived in Rome, did know about the existence of prestigious African civilizations, such as that of the pharaohs of Egypt. He knew of the strategic alliance between Jules Caesar and Cleopatra that was to consolidate the reign of the queen, and was based on a long millennial civilization, and observed and could describe a great part of the history of humanity. He could not have known that the city of Carthage, that was quite famous, under the leadership of Hannibal, was a great enemy of the Roman Empire during 3 wars between 244 and this before Jesus Christ. And in recent times, in the 13th century, the Emperor of Mali, Mansa Musa, had a huge fortune, very far from the poor Africa that the detractors of the continent were speaking about. When looking at the history, science finally acknowledged and provided answers to challenge the view of the negationists. The discovery of fossils of Homo sapiens in Morocco, the localization of Kuma in Chad, an ancestor, the oldest ancestor of the human beings on this planet, and the discovery of the oldest skeletons in the Rift Valley and the rivers of Kenya are proof of the primacy of the African, and the help sensitize the rest of the world about the origins of the human race, because the human beings have their roots in the African continent, as many archaeologists, famous archaeologists, acknowledge. And they say with pride that Africa is the home of humanity.
L'argument ne manque pas.
Well, of course, this is food for thought, and we could discuss this matter at length. However, comforted by relevant scientific knowledge, the global acknowledgement of these developments show that Africa was a pioneer as far as handling development issues are concerned. A famous painter saw that Africa looked like a key, and this is what is used to open doors. Now, if we apply this image to the development of global economy, our continent will appear as the furnace of the well-being and prosperity of peoples. Therefore, what are the novelties that come from Africa? Undoubtedly, Africa will be the key to open the future of humanity at a time when climate issues are of great concern, and more for the survival of human beings. What novelty comes from Africa? What is it that is new that comes from Africa with more than 600 million hectares of forests? Africa is the second green lung of humanity, and this is at the heart of climate issues relating to the survival of human beings. In that respect, we should prepare the 2026 UN decade for reforestation adopted by the UN General Assembly at the initiative of my country, the Republic of Congo. Once again, I would like to call for the mobilization without any hesitation of the international community in order for this resolution to be implemented. What is there? Is there anything new that comes from Africa? This 2026 Africa Day is celebrated under the theme assuring sustainable water availability and safe sanitation systems to achieve Agenda 2023. And we do know that Africa has large water reserves, and there's great potential coming from the Nile River, from the Zambezi, from the Volta, and from the Congo rivers. In addition, equatorial and tropical areas in Africa have a high rainfall. What is there? Is there anything new coming from Africa? Africa, by 2025, will have 2.5 billion inhabitants, mainly youth, who can actually manage the resources that are untapped in the areas of hydrocarbons, energy, etc. Is there anything new coming from Africa? We must persevere. We must not relent in order to give a content to the continental free trade area that displays economic Pan-Africanism and for the development of intra-African trade and an integrated market of goods and services in Africa, and ensure greater movement of people and goods. Today, the world is changing, and Africa cannot develop without roads, railroads, airports, ports, and without energy. And as in respect of energy, nearly 600 million Africans do not have access to electricity, and this accounts for about 50% of African continent. To fill this gap, the World Bank and the African Development Bank Group have embarked into a mission aimed at enabling 300 million people to have access to electricity by 2030. It is called Mission 300. This is a historic initiative, and under it there will be an increase in investments in infrastructure and supply chains in the area of power. And this is going to change the daily life of populations and companies. And schools and hospitals will have access to electricity. And this will also create job opportunities and also create a conducive environment for trade. And this initiative is buttressed by the Dar es Salaam Declaration on Energy, adopted on the 28th of January 2025. Given their high cost, no state can go it alone. As regards the construction of development infrastructure, they cannot go it alone. So, as regards Africa, Africa should leave the selfishness and nationalism and take refuge somewhere. Africa should display solidarity and should speak with one single voice and consolidate balances through sub-regional groupings and regional economic development groupings. Whenever they have gotten together, African countries have been able to achieve great victories, namely negotiate strategic partnerships, mobilize relevant, adequate financing, accelerate their walk towards development. Honorable President of the Republic of Gabon, dear brother, ladies and gentlemen, the fight for freedom cannot be separated from the fight for peace. I would like to renew my commitment for the Libyan cause, and for which my peers since 2026 to lead the high-level committee on Libya, the UA Commission on Libya. I would like to remind you of the other recurrent crisis in the Sahel, in Sudan, in South Sudan, and in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Past generations entrusted us with the Organization of African Unity, now called African Union. And today's demands are related to development. And so the longest trip starts with the first step. And as far as we're concerned, and related to the consolidation of our commitment to the vision of African founding fathers, the freedom and emancipation of African countries, the acceleration of the free movement of people and goods on the continent, the integration of states with ultimately the use of a single African passport. And once again, my commitment to a single, sovereign and prosperous Africa. Well, I would like to seize this solemn opportunity to announce today that as from the 1st of January 2027, well, all African countries will be visa-free, will no longer need a visa to come to Congo. The Republic of Congo, in the acceleration of its walk towards development, will continue to bring its contribution to the construction of an Africa that is committed and determined as regards unity, prosperity. Long live Africa, long live the Africa Union. And I wish you all a wonderful celebration. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président,
Your Excellency.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, please stay here. You'll be joined by the President of the African Development Bank, Mr. Sidi Ota, and the artist, Sirin Deng. In the Congolese cultural life, painting plays a great role, and the Poto School is well known, and this painting that was commissioned by the African Development Bank will stay at the school. Please, could you come here, Mr. President, so that a picture can be taken, you and the artist and the artist. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Au pays des sapeurs, ce sera un
In the sapeurs country, it will be remiss of me not to end this event with a parade of amateur models. There are 15 representing different countries. I'll call them one by one. The first one is a material in honor of Princess Alenga. Number 2, in Futsano, worn at weddings. Number 3 and 4, King Galifuru and Queen Galifuru and King Makoko. Number 5, did attire worn during traditional events. Number 6,
Numéro 7, Ashoké.
The cradle of all humankind, and Ashoké for rural events. Number 8, this is a garb, ceremonial garb from the Ottoman period era. Number 10 or number 9, Miss Mokinda Abishi, depending on whether this garb is worn by women. Number 10, the diaspora. It is the 6th region. Number 11, the Ndop. Number 12, the Bubukenza. Number 13, Fugu. Number 14, this is Garbin.
Numéro 15, la tenue Amazon.
Number 15, Amazon attire, garb. I would like to invite Dr. Salma Hamadi to come here and give a scarf. She's going to give a sash to all the models.
pouvez encore applaudir ces
Please give a hand of applause, a round of applause to our models. They're modeling only for today.
J'invite à présent
I'd like to invite Mr. Bienvenu Didimbe, Special Advisor to the President of Congo, to please join me on here.
Grand merci à
A big thanks to my sister, Denise Epote. A small correction. I'm the advisor and the official master of ceremonies. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude this celebration on behalf of His Excellency President Denis Sassou Nguesso, we are pleased to invite you to the inauguration of the new National Museum of Congo. As you leave Kintélé, the protocol team will guide you, our distinguished guests, to the place, to Pila in Karangai. And Mr. Jean-Claude Gakoso, the Minister of Culture, Heritage, Industry, and Tourism, will take the floor and present this place to us. I'd like to invite him to the platform to talk to us more about the museum.
Excellence.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Congo and Head of Government, the President of the Republic of Gabon, the Vice Presidents, Ministers, the President of the African Development Bank Group, the Vice Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Excellencies, ambassadors and representatives of international organizations, and all those who are art lovers, and all those who are activists for Africa's emancipation. It's with deep emotion that I take the floor during this celebration of Africa Day that is also taking place at the time the annual meetings of the AfDB are taking place. We are now going to have the inauguration by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Congo, of the new complex housing the museum. And it has been a project that dates back to a couple of years, and it is in the Sistangai area. It is a very symbolic location, and it is coming at a time where Africa is being carried by a new wind of Pan-Africanism, where Africa is reaffirming her identity and transmitting the heritage of its civilizations that have been there for millennia. We need to represent this fight through the museum. The museum represents the general history of humanity, and it starts off with hominids that through the Rift Valley from Ethiopia to the southern parts of Africa, We have the Cromanium, and we also have the feminine ancestors of humanity that is buried in the sandy ground of our continent, and we can admire the skeleton in the National Museum of Ethiopia. Without museums, we'd not be anything. We'd just be nothing. We need to remember the Egyptians, the Nubians, the Greeks, and the Acropolis. And Pompeii, this Italian city that is a prosperous city that has vestiges that remind us of the brilliant civilization of Monomotapa and the excellent institutional organization. In some stating that the importance of museums for humanity for each country cannot be understated or overstated. The National Museum of Congo is not just a building, it is more than that. It is our living memory. It explains our journey through history. It represents our basic identity. The history of the National Museum of Congo was not a long, tranquil river. In 1965, this museum represented our culture, but then its infrastructure began being degraded, and it became obsolete and inadapted to the requirements of the valorization of heritage. A group of people passionate about culture and experts that were not able to stop the decline of the museum. Our country went through painful moments in 1997, and this ruined whatever remained of the museum with the looting of collections. It was a deep wound that was inflicted on our collective memory, a part of our heritage that was left to us by our ancestors seemed threatened, it was defaced. Fortunately, the forces of courage and determination finished by triumphing over forces of abandonment and inertia. These living forces came together so that the collective memory will never die, and thanks to the willingness and the goodwill of the President of the Republic, who embraces the sovereignty of African peoples and their culture, reaffirming our identity. Congo is now opening a new page in its history. The new building housing the National Museum that you are going to visit in a short while meets international standards of museum conservation. It reflects a strong ambition, and that is ensuring that culture is one of the pillars of development of a country. It's a tourist attraction, and it will be appreciated by the concert of nations. This building is a bridge between the past, the present, and the future. It demonstrates the love of Congo, national conscience, Pan-Africanism. It is an instrument of peace and dialogue. We are proud of this National Museum Center. We are sending a message to Africa and the world. We are a people that protects her heritage and her sovereignty. This museum has over 2,500 pieces of art. It's also a demonstration of our advocacy, international advocacy for the return of African artifacts that are abroad. We are preserving our heritage, and we are also preserving our identity. Preserving our identity means preserving our future. This precious identity is irrigated by our music, Congolese rumba, and other music that is at the UN. The rumba that we have and that our country shares with the Democratic Republic of Congo is undeniably one of the most powerful expressions of African genius. It is the identity of the two borders, the two banks of River Congo, from Jean Sagesu, Alimo Manape, Antoine Ondanda, Aidang Oganga, and Grand Calais to Pepe Calais, from Luambo Makiadi to Nico Kassanda, from Table Rochot to Sam Mangwana, to Dasalians to Pepe Ndomba, from Papa Noël to Papa Wemba, from Giré Gérard to Dizzy Manyankou, from Constance Mutwali to Ange Lino, from Sotivango to Fongle Bukaka, to Mbiliabel to Mbembeshero, from Kofi Olomide to Kester Benea, to Roga Roga, from Verigola. From Dudu Koka to Fali Ipupa. The list is endless. You could go to the new wave of music, and Congolese music is undeniably one of the powerful pieces of art in Africa. Your Excellencies, the inauguration that you will be attending will help you, or enable you to explore our roots and look at the instruments of rumba and the exceptional diversity of the music coming from both banks of River Congo. This is the journey that you'll be embarking on in a short while, and you will have some sort of visual proximity as well as interior resonance that brings some subtleness and some magic with traditional dances and the masks, masquerades that you see in the carnivals of the New World in the Caribbean, in Brazil, and in Colombia. This exhibition will not be the end. There'll be other exhibitions, and the museum will be a true school for the transmission of knowledge. It'll be a laboratory of ethnographic research. It'll be the privileged space for the encounter of cultures, dialogues, and civilizations. Thank you, Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Congo, for giving creators of genius, these men and women who are thirsty for recognition from the father of the nation. Lastly, on behalf of the Government of the Republic of Congo, I would like to express our deep gratitude to all the technical and financial partners that have helped us operationalize this important project, the architects, the conservators, the artists, those who are responsible for the collections, as well as those working behind the scenes, worked with zeal and sacrifice to ensure that this project saw the light of day. I cannot forget the Minister Lydie Bongo, who preceded me in this post and who handed over the baton to me 3 weeks ago. May the National Museum of Congo become once again what it has never stopped being. May it continue being at the heart of Africa, the unextinguishable memory of truth and art. Thank you.
Excellences, Mesdames, Messieurs.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of the Africa Day celebrations for 2026. I was pleased to be with you. And we want to remember the biggest cheerleader for Africa Day at the bank, who is the Secretary General, Professor Vincent Mnimele. We know he is watching online, and we convey our very best wishes to him. Your Excellencies, you are invited to a reception, and you will be guided by our charming hostesses to the venue. Thank you.